This has truly been probably one of the worst weeks that Tesla had, at least since I became an owner back in 2012. Just so many things kind of came together in a bad way in 1 week. I think overall it's going to be okay, but it's definitely a tough week, and a lot of people are kind of even questioning the future of the company. My last night's guest actually believes that CEO Elon Musk should step down. Interesting concept. I really never even thought about it, but there were quite a few good news for Tesla this week as well. Other companies had some good news and bad news, so that's what we're going to talk about it as well. Of course, the whole aftermath of the Uber accident is still there. We're going to talk about it, and a couple of new electric cars on the market. So pretty excited. Let's talk about it all right now.
Taking over the world, electrifying the world, electric.
All right, so it's been a long week. It has definitely been a long week for Tesla and Elon Musk. I'm sure this is not how they've imagined things to go. So at first, obviously, it started with the crash here in the Mountain View, just a few miles away from here on 101. And at first, we didn't really know whether or not the Model X that kind of crashed right into the divider, and unfortunately the person who was in the car died. We didn't really know what really happened in terms of whether the car was on an autopilot or not on an autopilot. But now Tesla came out and said, yes, the car was indeed an autopilot. Now, obviously this is bad. I mean, and I'm sure there will be other things, you know, coming out of this, but Tesla did mention that the person was warned a few times before, earlier in the trip, to put the hands on the wheel, so maybe this person wasn't paying as much attention even before. Also, Tesla said that there was no hands on the wheel registered for at least 5 seconds before the crash, and for about 5 seconds, the person was able to clearly see the divider. On top of that, the dividers, the crumble zone that they had, was actually all the way crushed from probably a previous accident. We don't know why it wasn't fixed, but that definitely contributed, and that's what Tesla is saying, definitely contributed to the death of the person who was behind the wheel. If you saw the pictures that of that crumble zone before, it is a pretty long one, and so I can definitely see how that could have saved that person's life. But back to the whole autopilot thing, this is definitely something that Tesla going to have to talk about, because it's now there are some other numbers that Tesla released in their statement that said, listen, now we have so many miles driven in autopilot, we have statistics, and statistically you are more than 3 times as safe riding in a car with an autopilot, in a Tesla with an autopilot, than in any other car around the world, just given pure statistics as far as how many people have died in accidents, including autopilot, and how many people died in the rest of the world in other accidents, obviously with cars without autopilot. So, all good statistics, but we just had, obviously, the fatal crash that happened with Uber of the self-driving cars, even though it had nothing to do with Tesla, had nothing to do with even electric cars, but nevertheless, that was something that people started, it was already in people's minds, right? That self-driving cars, the technology is not ready. So this definitely did not help. Now, also, at the end of the week, myself and pretty much everybody who bought their Model S cars before April 2016 got an email that Tesla is voluntarily recalling 123,000 Model S sedans. Now, it does not affect Model 3 or Model X, so that's good. Apparently, there are some bolts, I guess, in a power steering part of the car that was made by Bosch. And I guess in a cold weather, especially when the roads are treated with magnesium and other chemicals that are not just regular salt, it can actually, get loose, and you lose the power steering from your car. Now, nothing bad happens. I mean, you will just have a harder time steering the car. But Tesla also has this, had never really happened. There were no any incidents or accidents due to this. They're just kind of doing it proactively, which is good. And they've had, recalls before, but obviously, again, during this week, this is not a good week to have that happen. You know, but again, good that they are actually doing it. Of course, we know that all eyes are on the production of Model 3, and the numbers that came out from Tesla also this week, and this is I believe email that was sent out by the senior vice president of engineering at Tesla to the employees, asking them to kind of step it up and maybe work a little bit harder in the next couple of weeks. You know, it mentioned that they're making a little bit over 200 cars per day, which definitely looks like it's way under their goal of 2,500 cars per week that they are trying to get to. Now, of course, there's a possibility that they're really going to ramp it up. I know the assembly line and equipment from Grohmann Engineering from Germany was supposed to arrive in the middle of this month, and I really hope that helps. I don't know if it already kicked in. But I mean, obviously they need all the help they can get. Pretty much everybody is predicting that they are going to miss their own goal of 2,500 units per week. And obviously that is going to raise even more questions about, you know, what is happening here, right? Because this is what I believe third time Elon Musk is moving his own a goal of production. And this is definitely a problem for a few reasons. You know, obviously not keeping your promises is a not good thing, especially as far as Wall Street is concerned. And you know, there was another story that that came out earlier today, and this was about one of the investors, one of the hedge fund managers. I believe his name is John Thompson, and he basically said, you know, I believe that Tesla is going to go bankrupt in a few more months. Now, I already called bull, you know, BS on this, and quite a few people already have. But nevertheless, this is the first time anybody put Tesla in bankruptcy in one sentence, and it was kind of out and about, and a lot of people cover it. So that's just simply not good. Now, this guy has a history of trying to short Tesla stock, and you know, you know, we already had a side conversation with you guys in the comment section whether or not this should be legal. I believe that shouldn't even be legal, where people are basically creating a BS buzz type of a thing and then benefiting from it financially, even though they know that it's not really true. But nevertheless, all of this has kind of been, again, happening in 1 week, so none of it is good. Here's the stock price that hit 52 week low. I believe this is from Wednesday, and this is from Google Finance. This is, you know, another thing is because if the company is worth less now, even though a lot of people think it's going to go up, but you know, it is what it is right now. You know, it's going to be tougher to borrow money, and this is another point that people are trying to make is, you know, Tesla is supposed to start repaying some of their debt I believe at the end of this year. We're talking about a little over $1 million sometime in 2019, and that's, you know, that is and if they have to borrow more money because they're not making enough money on Model 3, well, that's going to get even harder to do so, and their current debt has been already downgraded by a couple of investment firms. So, you know, they definitely need to get this thing on the road. They definitely need to get the production up, because they need to get them, you know, start making money off of these cars. I mean, they are making money off of these cars, but you know, at some point they need to start making enough where they turn enough profit to start paying those loans. And if they're not, you know, listen, nobody doubts that Elon Musk can raise money. Obviously, we know that Elon Musk is really good at it. Last time, I believe they raised it, what, it was about half a year ago. They sold some of the securities that were backed by Model S and Model X leases, and I believe it was like, what, 14 or 16 times oversubscribed. So it doesn't look like he'll have problems next time around, but it looks like there's a limited number of times when he can do it moving forward. And again, Wall Street just doesn't like to be lied to. No, nobody does, I guess, but you know, it's definitely something that we never thought about, right? Every time we thought, hey, you know, if they need a little bit more money, no big deal. Elon Musk is going to go and raise money. It's going to be okay. But now it's kind of getting to the point where I was like, you know, you should really figure out how to be on schedule, and you should really figure out how to not raise money anymore. Now, for those of you guys who watched my last yesterday's show, my interview with Roger Atkins, who is an electric vehicle blogger and also brand consultant for a few electric car companies. You know, he said something interesting. I haven't heard this before. So as a matter of fact, let me just play the clip and we'll discuss it in a second. This is from yesterday.
There needs to be a change. And dare I say this, because I know you might not agree, Alex, and maybe a lot of your viewers won't. I think maybe it's a time for Elon to become the chairman of the company and take a lot less of a hands-on role. He's doing an amazing job with SpaceX, and I'm sure that's where his kind of true passion is, certainly where his skill sits. And I think in some senses it would work better for SpaceX if he spent more time there.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, I'm going to assume now this guy been around for a long time, and you know, he probably is not saying this just to shock me or you guys. I'm going to assume there will be other people calling for this at some point. Now, granted that Elon Musk just kind of got his contract extended for 10 years, and it looks like the board has been pretty happy with him. So I don't think it's going to be happening. But once again, when was the last time we've heard that Elon Musk should step down as the CEO of Tesla? That is absolutely insane, right? And it is but we're hearing all of this stuff, right? Bankruptcy, you know, stepping down for Elon Musk. I know none of it is really going to happen, but I'm just saying things are not good when this is the things that are happening. Now, I know I'm being Debbie Downer right now. I know I am, and there's some more good news about Tesla. And I don't think the world is just about to end. And I think that, you know, this whole thing is gonna work out just fine. But listen, at the same time, you know, it's my job to report to you guys that this is not good. And by the way, you know, I'm not doing this live. I'm really missing talking to you guys in the chat room for now. And I'm actually just about to upload kind of a lengthier explanation of what's happening. I will be back live at some point. It's just, there's some really bizarre, I don't even know how to say it. There's pretty bizarre reasons why I can't go live to you guys right now, but it will definitely get resolved. But by the way, if this is your first time watching this and you're enjoying the show and the channel, please become a part of this community by clicking the subscribe button. And if you would like to join and support the show on Patreon, just like I said, I post a lot of behind the scene footage. Like I'm just about to post the lengthier sort of explanation for why this has been kind of happening or not happening, I guess. And the description of this video also has a link to my Patreon page. So I really appreciate it, guys, because it does take a lot of time and money to do the show. And I really appreciate you guys supporting me this way. It is definitely greatly appreciated. And talking, you know, speaking about supporting them about the show, and I'm going to move on to other topics just a second. But got to mention Evanex. That's been a sponsor of the show and the channel for a while. So thank you so much. You can find it in the description of this video, not just the Patreon link, but also the link and a discount code if you want to save a few bucks as you're shopping for your accessories for Tesla. So thank you to Evanex. All right, now let's move on a little bit. And you know, we've covered this a lot last week. You know, the Uber accident when Uber in Arizona ran over a woman who was walking her bike across the street, and unfortunately the woman has died. Now a few other things, and obviously this was already sort of set up, this whole issue with Tesla and the Model X, you know, and person dying here in Mountain View. I mean, that would have still been an issue, obviously, but this was already kind of people were talking about it, and the distrust for the self-driving technology was already kind of growing, right? Now we know now that it looks like part of the safety system on the car, I believe that's the one that's supposed to brake for something like this, was disabled. I'm sure we'll have more things that will come out, you know, what exactly happened here. Also, Arizona had suspended the license for Uber to test their self-driving technology in the state of Arizona, and Uber also promised the state of California not to renew their license here because basically expires today, which is March 31st, the end of the month. Now, Mobileye came in here and also kind of decided to, you know, I guess they're being opportunistic, and what they did was they took this footage, they ran it through their software, and they said, you know what? Our software was actually going to break within 1 second of the crash and most likely either avoid or prevent the death. Now, a lot of people are calling BS on this, and I guess they are also right because, you know, there's things were more than just this footage. I mean, there are lidars and radars and other things that contributed to this, and Mobileye does not have all information. So this is kind of a very kind of a mom and pop cooked up simulation, but nevertheless, you know, now with that said, let me also be fair that any decent technology, the self-driving technology that even should be allowed on the road, should be able to see the only moving damn thing on the road, which is obviously if you're using lidar, you should see the silhouette of the person on the bike, and it should be registered and avoided by this system. We've talked, obviously there are other issues with this whole incident, but I believe Mobileye when they say it, even though I don't believe their test being, really legitimate or really practical sort of a simulation of what happened. But I believe every single self-driving technology that's out there, that's allowed to be out there, should be able to figure this out. Now, also NVIDIA, and I'm just gonna go ahead and do this picture again instead of the NVIDIA's logo, NVIDIA also stopped their self-driving technology testing because they are the company that provided some of the hardware and the software for the Uber self-driving technology. That's kind of a shame because, well, I mean, I guess if they're looking out for themselves and for people, that's good. But this is also kind of made the NVIDIA stock go down and question NVIDIA hardware and software, even though we don't know if that was really it. Maybe they know something we don't know. Maybe they're just being cautious. So this is, another thing that unfortunately kind of piled up on top of that. Now, let's talk about some positive news that we had this week, and this is a positive self-driving technology news because Waymo had announced that they are actually going to be ordering this beautiful Jaguar I-Pace that just basically came out and is going to be in production by the end of the year. Something that I'm looking into as well. They're not just going to be ordering them and making this self-driving cars, because right now they're using the Chrysler Pacifica vans. Now, obviously, I-Pace is much smaller, so I'm not really sure if they're going to stop using the Pacificas because those cars are pretty good for like larger families or people with a lot of luggage, where this car is, much smaller. But at least this self-driving technology is going to come home to where it belongs, an electric car. And by the way, they're not just ordering like a few, they're ordering 20,000 of these. So it would be interesting to see if they're actually going to ramp up the production pretty quick and start making cars for the rest of us and Waymo. And Waymo is looking to buy 20,000 of those over the next few years. And once they're done, are they going to keep up with the production? So this is a pretty big deal, guys. I mean, that's a pretty big order, and I'm definitely excited because Waymo is a company that has not always, but in the last year has been kind of emerged as a leader in self-driving technology. They've just to compare to Uber, for example, statistically, Uber self-driving cars have to have interference from the backup driver when they're not texting, I believe every 39 miles, which is pretty good. But like Waymo, I believe that's every like 1,000 miles. I'm probably not even getting right. I think it's like 5,000. It's something ridiculous, like so many more times less often than Uber. So their self-driving technology has been pretty impressive. They haven't had any major accidents, definitely no deaths. So it's exciting to see that the latest technology from Jaguar and the latest technology from Google, Waymo, is actually going to be something that we're going to really see on the roads. And it's, again, good looking EV. So I'm, finally some positive news. So I'm definitely excited about that. And I would love to see them on the road around here in Mountain View. I'm sure they'll start testing them out as soon as Jaguar starts making them and delivering them to Waymo. By the way, if you're watching this video and you're liking it, and I would really appreciate some thumbs up. There's a little icon below the video. Really appreciate that. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and click that subscribe button so you don't miss anything moving forward. All right, let's move on to the next story. And we've heard about SF Motors for a while. This company has been kind of in a stealth mode for, I don't know, almost 2 years, I would say. Now, the interesting part about it is that the company that's one of the companies that SF Motors have bought was founded by a former Tesla CEO that Elon Musk kind of butted heads, and then Elon Musk ended up taking over. So that's an interesting competition here that might just happen. Well, they've unveiled not just one but two electric cars. Both of them are SUVs. You're looking at the one that's called SF7, and this one's not going to be out for a while. But another one that's called SF5, and it's this one right here. This one is very interesting. So the stats are like this: 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, which is pretty impressive. Over 300-mile range, EPA, again, very impressive. I'm just looking at my cheat sheet. They are looking to start production at the end of this year, and they are starting to sell them, in the beginning of the next year or so. That's the plan. And now, compared to pretty much every other stealth or startup company, or even a regular mainstream company, when they announce something like this, we always go like, well, is it really going to happen? Where's your factory? Well, guess what? These guys actually started with the factories. They own not one, but two factories. One of them is in US, and that's a factory where they used to make Hummers, and another one is in China. So these guys are actually set to go and make this car. So when they say they're going to start taking reservations and making these cars within 1 year, I would believe them, at least more so than others. So this is a very interesting development. Now, I know there's a New York Auto Shows going on out there, but they actually had their own event here in Northern California where they unveiled this car. And so now they're officially on the map as an electric car maker. So I'm very excited for them. I'm very excited for any company that's really doing this, but definitely a startup that gets to kind of create everything from scratch, and therefore there's not bound by limitation of kind of old thinking, old school companies that just still make money selling gas cars. So I'm really excited about these guys. Now, here's another car that, as you guys know, I'm really excited as well. Hyundai Kona EV. And this one was unveiled, a few weeks ago now. Great range. They're now confirming it that it's going to have a range of 250 miles EPA. Now, it's a little weird because I thought that it would be exactly the same as a Kia Niro EV. That's kind of a sister company, and it's also a compact SUV. But that one still, they're claiming it's going to have 238 miles EPA. I don't know if this is going to change. It kind of changed for this car. I believe that originally they were saying it's going to be 275 miles. So not bad. Still 250 miles is a very good range. Now, one thing we're still missing is the pricing. A lot of people are expecting this car to actually start under $30,000 or even maybe closer to $20,000. So definitely something to watch. Established car makers, so obviously enough service centers for everything. Good looking SUV. Compact SUV, right? I'd say it's pretty good looking. I'm not that crazy about what it looks like inside, I have to say, but the way it looks outside is just fine. And the price would be great. The mileage is pretty good. So I would say this could be a game changer, or definitely main competitor to everybody, right? I mean, Tesla, Model Y is years away. Jaguar I-Pace is obviously going to cost like what, double or triple of this. So for as far as a SUV for people like me who don't have make millions and millions of dollars, because our Patreon pages are not there yet. Quick plug. Yeah, it's definitely could be a game changer. Obviously, all we need to know, to get now is a fast charging network here in the United States, and we're good to go. But for now, this probably would be a car for those people who have two cars. Maybe one of them was already a Tesla, that they can travel a long distance, but this would be their kind of a daily commuter, or just a regular car that they won't use for long trips. I'm considering this one, guys. I mean, I don't mind having like Model S and then having this car for like maybe everyday commute, or maybe just a weekend car. I think this may just be a pretty good choice. All right, let's move on to another one, and Rimac. As you remember, this car was unveiled also a couple of weeks ago in the Geneva Auto Show, and this is obviously a very expensive car. I believe they announced that they well, what they announced is they're almost sold out. Now the original concept one, I think they made a total of 10, right, and 2 of them were just for track, so really 8. Now they're supposed to make about 100 of these over the next few years, but it looks like they're almost sold out. And what they're saying that the price is 2.1 million, and in addition to that, I believe there's over $600,000 in options on average those people who reserve this car are going to get. So we're talking about most of these cars are going to be closer to $3 million, and they had no problems getting people interested. And you know, nobody's surprised, right? This is I love the way this car looks inside and outside. It's obviously 1.85 seconds 0 to 60. A little bit faster than the Roadster, the second generation Roadster from Tesla. It looks like Tesla is going to make it just a little faster, but nevertheless amazing. And they're saying they're going to have a level 4 self-driving technology, which is cool. Not really sure if people will, you know, I'm not really sure if people will be driving their $3 million car that often, but especially if they are, they're going to be really want to drive it rather than having it on a autonomous driving setting. But nevertheless, that's a good for them to have that technology. So good for Rimac is I guess what I'm saying here. All right, the next story I wanted to talk about, and once again, guys, if you're enjoying this show, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. And of course, if you would like to support me on Patreon, please go ahead and check out the description of this video, and I should have it in there as well. All right, let's move on to Workhorse. Now, this is their engine truck, and we kind of, you know, I reported about it way back last year, I believe. And, you know, just a reminder, this is the company that I reported about when I was at CES back in January. Here I am reporting it, pointing in the wrong direction, about their W15 electric truck, hybrid really. This is the only pickup truck that is electric that's really out on the market. They're going to be making it this summer. It does have a extender, gas extender from BMW, the same one that they have on i3. But again, if you're looking for an electric truck, even though the range is not that great, I believe about 100 miles, you know, and really, I don't know how many people really use more than that for their work truck. This is the only choice. Now, so this is the same company that is, you know, was working on this engine truck. This is kind of a delivery truck, a smaller delivery truck, but 100-mile range, which is perfectly fine for most trucks that deliver stuff within a neighborhood or within a certain area. Well, guess what? This is the picture of the company here in San Francisco. See Golden Gate Bridge? They are starting, they were the first customers, they're starting to use it, they're testing it, and the weird part is they would like to stay anonymous, and they are staying anonymous. They just saying, we want to try it out, make sure it works. Still, again, a little weird because you would think that would be great publicity for them, but they decided to stay anonymous, I guess, and so that's what it is. But these trucks, I forget how many they ordered, maybe 100 or so. I'll check on those numbers, but a good looking truck, I gotta tell you, that's pretty cool looking truck for a delivery truck, right? So yeah, another electric brand had a new model on the road, and I absolutely love it. This is definitely something that we're all rooting for, I hope, because this is what we hope the future is going to be like. Let's see, what is next? Oh yeah, so, and again, we're gonna get to all the good stuff about Tesla a little bit later in the show, but let me get through the rest of the news this week. All right, so the Nissan Leaf, remember this is a previous generation, which I really don't like. I mean, there's no secret there, but in Japan, Nissan is starting to offer a pretty cool program where you can get a reconditioned battery from them for under $3,000. And I hope they will launch this in Europe and United States, because I mean, I feel like they kind of stole this idea from me, because when people are asking me, well, how can I buy a car under $10,000? As a matter of fact, one of my videos earlier this week was how to get a car for under $7,000, because now you can do this, well, at least in Japan. But even before that, I will always recommend, listen, get a Nissan Leaf that's used, where the crapped out battery with like no range, you can get it pretty cheap, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and then you go back to Nissan and you get the brand new one, and together it's going to be about $10,000, depending on what kind of deal you can get on that Nissan. And therefore you have a relatively brand new Nissan Leaf, because, you know, electric motor, it's not going to be that worn out. The electric battery is going to be perfectly fine. It's going to be brand new. and the rest of it's just going to be a little wear and tear here, so you should be fine. So this is something that I've recommended. It looks like, you know, Nissan is going to start accommodating this, so I'm really excited about it. Really good idea. Well, I'll pat myself on the shoulder for that, though I'm not really sure if they got it from me. Anyway, really cool. Now, on the opposite side, Nissan had problems from the report, again, about this first generation Leaf, is that their 30 kilowatt hour battery degrades much worse and faster, I think by 2 or 3 times, than their 24 kilowatt hour battery. And so Nissan had issued a statement that they're now aware of this issue. They're working on it. There is no solution particular, but since they publicly acknowledged it, I'm going to assume that they're actually going to go ahead and do something about it. So that's another, you know, it's good news when they acknowledge it. Obviously, it's not good news, but we all knew that the previous battery was not really good. So that's that. Now, talking about recycled batteries, so China made a pretty cool move this week. They basically now requiring the manufacturers that make electric cars to take care of the recycling, to have some sort of a recycling program where they either take the battery that from the car that needs to be recycled and take care of it, or also have some sort of a reconditioning facility when they can also recondition batteries. And this kind of puts this burden on manufacturers to make sure that, you know, if they're producing the batteries, they have some sort of way to recycle them, because you know, this will be a problem. This is one of the main arguments from people who kind of still talking trash about electric cars, saying, well, how are they environmentally friendly, where the biggest part of the car cannot really be recycled that easily or properly. So this is, I feel like, a good step to take care of that, because we will have way more electric cars with time, fingers crossed, and obviously we're going to need to take care of this problem, and so that's good that China is requiring it. We have a kind of a similar thing here in California and other states, but it's really, I haven't really heard that much about it. I haven't heard anybody using this program or anything like that, so I'm not quite sure if this is something that is really as serious as what China is doing. All right, another story that I was actually really excited about. So Daimler and a Biati had a baby, as I like to call it. So this Denza 500, they've had Denza 400 before, but this is a car that they've produced now. As you know, China is now requiring, starting next year, that I believe 10% of all cars are manufactured or imported into China. They have to be 10% of that fleet has to be electric. Pretty aggressive, and so companies are gearing up. But at the same time, as you know, Mercedes can't just come in and start manufacturing cars in China. They have to partner up with an existing Chinese-owned company, and they've already had a partnership with Biati, and this is the car that they've now produced. This is not, you know, stats are not bad. I'm also looking at my cheat sheet. 62 kilowatt hour battery that was supposed to get you about over 300 miles range. I don't know if it's CPA, but we'll see. But nevertheless, 47,600 American dollars in conversion after incentives, and Chinese incentives are pretty good. And I believe $1.8 billion is what Mercedes had already invested in China to kind of start producing cars like this with Chinese-owned companies to move forward with the whole 10% of cars need to be electric. So kudos on them. Not a bad-looking car, I have to say. This is not bad. So this is going to be happening in China again. If this is a success, maybe they'll take it out on the road and bring it to Europe and the United States. By the way, I know earlier I mentioned my guest yesterday on the show on Saturday. I don't have a guest yet scheduled for next week, but I do have stuff scheduled for almost every Saturday next month. April 14th, I'm excited to have Rich from Rich Rebuilds channel. This guy is amazing. He rebuilds Teslas, and therefore he knows a lot about how much, what costs, what can Tesla will help you with, what issues you might be having if your car is, you know, either totaled or if you just have a used one out of warranty. So really excited to talk to him about that. Then on the 21st, I'll be part of the road trip here that put together by my buddy Eli and his My Tesla Adventure. Adventure Club. We're going to be meeting up at the Tesla, one of the largest Tesla superchargers in the world, definitely the largest one in the United States, at Kettleman City, California, and then we'll be driving to Avila Beach. It should be fun. If I'm able to live stream, I'll do that. If not, I will just record it and bring it back to you probably next day. So that would be Saturday. That would be instead of having a guest. And on the 28th, Zach and Jesse should be here as well, live via webcam from Massachusetts. So that should be fun. And then I'm working on a few others. So I hope you guys are excited about these, because these are all really cool people to have on the show. All right, so let's move on to Tesla news again, but this time I've saved all the good ones for the second part of the show, right? So let's start with the new nav. So Elon Musk promised that they're working on a completely new, rewritten new navigation system thing, and I'm definitely welcoming it, because I a lot of times have to use my phone and Google Maps to figure out the more precise destination time of arrival that Tesla is not doing a good job at whatsoever. So I'm excited to see what they're going to come up with. Now, this is something they've done completely in-house, it looks like. Right now, they are using Google Maps and traffic, I believe, and their own previous version, but this was, I guess, a complete rewrite. So they're rolling it out now. I'm excited to see it. Some people are reporting and putting screenshots together. I don't see it that different from what we see in Model 3s right now. But as long as that one thing, at least for me, that estimated time of arrival calculates correctly, to me, that would be a huge improvement as well. Otherwise, I don't have that many problems with their maps. Of course, you can improve them, but this is really, really, really the one that was, been bugging me for a long time. So that's pretty good. Another thing is FedEx. Kind of late to the game, but they've ordered, I believe, 20 of semi-trucks from Tesla, so they're becoming one of the largest customers, of course. There are bigger ones, and UPS is one of them. Surprised that they kind of didn't match UPS's order or whatever, but obviously everyone's just kind of testing it out. So FedEx is jumping on a bandwagon, and that's good. Just another good brand name, the company that obviously needs to have their fleet at some point converted, and it makes sense for them. That's really good. So that was another good news from Tesla this week. And another thing is Tesla was upgrading the cars that they started making a couple of weeks ago. They're going to have a brand new MCU, and it already stands for what? The main control unit. Still don't know what the hell that means, but they're putting that much faster, and people already reported that it's much, much faster. As a matter of fact, Eli, who I just mentioned that from my Tesla Adventure that we're doing next month, he created a video where he kind of compared a current one and the brand new, I believe his friend just bought a Model X with the new MCU, and he kind of timed it, and it's obviously literally like twice as fast. But on another hand is that even if you don't have, so that Elon also, there's more to the story about a main control unit. It only sounds boring, but it's actually, there's more to it. So Elon said that those of us who want to get that new MCU, we can get our cars retrofitted. We don't know what the pricing is, but we can do it. On another hand, they're starting to roll out the updates for the software that's supposed to make it better. And it looks like people who are getting those are reporting that it is also much, much faster just with the software upgrade. And again, this is one thing I absolutely love about Tesla, something that I don't know why the other manufacturers haven't caught up, or at least starting to catch up with yet. But over-the-air upgrades, this is where your car gets better overnight as you're sleeping, and all the upgrades are happening, and you wake up and your car is either faster or better or both. So this is one of those times where your screen is going to just be better as far as speed of reaction to your touch is concerned, and it's completely free. So that's another good news that I thought I should mention. Move on to another one, Tesla Start. This is a program that Tesla has started last week, and I guess they've been kind of already had it in progress with a couple of colleges that have signed up. But basically, this is a program that will be added to a curriculum of a college for those who want to be mechanics or engineers and so forth. Well, mainly mechanics. And this is specifically a program to become a Tesla mechanic, and you can be taught about how to, maintain Teslas, how to fix Teslas. And so once you finish I believe it's a 90-day program, Tesla is obviously very likely to hire you. And just in general, even if you want to be a mechanic for electric cars in the future, this is a really good start for you to get a job, whether Tesla or maybe another company that can snatch you up. And it's great that Tesla is partnering you up. Right now, it's only two colleges. I believe it's like one in South Carolina, another one in California, but I'm sure it will grow, because it sounds like a really good deal for the new generation, where right now Tesla has to hire regular mechanics that know how to work on gas cars, but then they have to convert them and kind of do the same thing on their dime, and most importantly on their time, which they don't have. So this is a good way to raise a new generation of electric car mechanics. Another thing that's been happening is it looks like Canada deliveries are starting this month, already started, and it looks like pricing is very similar to United States if you convert it in dollars. I believe only a few $100 difference, which was not the case for Model S and the Model X. So this is good news, and I'm assuming Tesla, of course, is trying to make sure that they sell as many cars outside of the United States as possible before July 1st. So, their future customers can benefit from the full tax credit for an extra 3 months. So that's very understandable. Oh, and good news from Germany as well. As you know, there was some drama. There's always drama going on between Tesla and Germany, because they're obviously protecting their own German manufacturers. And they put, at some point, there was a lot of drama where they tried to put a cap on the amount of money that a car costs where you still get incentives. We're talking about electric cars, of course. They kind of cut it off exactly what Tesla was starting at. So what Tesla did in return, they kind of stripped down all of their cars into all tiny little pieces and options. And that way they kind of got the car under that. But then some magazine reported that Tesla was kind of refusing customers that stripped out version and kind of forcing them into buying those options after all, and they've concluding an investigation now, and turned out to be that was not true, and so Tesla can start benefiting from the incentive again. Now that kind of sucks, because it's kind of guilty until proven innocent kind of a deal, and it looks like Tesla was proven innocent, but it really sucks that Germany is doing that. They should have figured it out first, conducted the investigation. If Tesla was really doing something wrong, then take action, rather than the other way around. So that, but nevertheless, I'm glad that actually got cleared up, and Tesla was able to now get some help, selling cars with incentives like everybody else. That was a lot of news. I gotta tell you guys, it's even without talking to you guys in the chat room, took a while now, and again, I'm really missing you guys, having this thing scroll and talking to you. But we'll figure it out pretty soon. Just like I said, stay tuned. I'm assuming the next week is not going to be that much easier, because we're going to be finding out the Q1 report from Tesla, and obviously all eyes are on that. All eyes on the Model 3 production. We'll find out what, not just, I'm sure we won't be that surprised about what the production numbers are going to be, but I'm sure we will be, I want to see what Elon Musk promises moving in the future, moving forward, and what's going to happen in the, rest of the year. I'm sure they'll have to talk more about the Autopilot crash here in Mountain View, and a few other things that people are bringing up to everyone's attention to settle everything down. And I hope he can do that. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm just saying, this is probably not going to be the easiest week for Elon Musk and Tesla. But also looking forward to many other news that I'm sure will be plenty of. So I'm definitely excited about that. All right, guys. That's pretty much it for me. Of course, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow, Monday, when I'll upload my brand new video, of course, about all the news by 11 a.m. or so. So I will see you tomorrow. Other than that, remember to stay charged.